Hey everybody, so this is just a quick review on the lab that I want you to do today. So it's 3-1 lab, the balancing act. Okay, so this is a simulation lab. So we're going to use the PhET simulator and we are going to use the balancing act lab that they have provided to us. If you want to learn more about the learning goals and then developing, you can go ahead and read that, but I'm going to jump to explain your understanding. So use your own words and captured images for the simulation to show you can blah. So I'm going to go to this link right here, and it's going to open up the Balancing Act lab. So now you can see that there are 3 sections here. I want you to start in the intro tab. Okay, so before you get to the lab part, I want you to start in the intro tab. And you are asked to do, in your own words and captured images for the simulations below, make 2 different mass objects balance at least 2 different ways. Okay, and then I want you to place those captured images here, explain why it makes sense that there is more than one way to make objects balance, and what different tools did you use. So let's just talk. So you have 3 objects here, 2 of them are fire extinguishers of 5 kilograms and then this trash can of 10 kilograms. And this is your balancing stage. This is your pivot point to remove those blocks that keep it, in balance. You go ahead and click that button there. And these are the different tools that you can use. All right, so it automatically has mass labels on it. So make sure if you are saying, what tools did you use? You put, I used mass labels. Because, again, mass labels are super important. Why? Because we know the mass of the objects that we're working with. You can also have force for the object. So if I put an object here, we can now see the force that is acting down. All right, and you can also use the leveler. All right, so in this balancer, you can see that if we remove this, it's going to be off level. Okay, you can also use the ruler, so you can measure out the distance that it is from the pivot point right here, measure out that distance far away, and markers. Okay, so again, you can put it at marker 4, marker 3, that kind of thing. So I want you to work through this introduction section, answer these questions. So you're making 2 different mass objects balance in at least 2 different ways. Okay, so I want you to provide those screen captured images. You can either use your phone or use, take a screenshot either using the snipping tool, or if you're working on a Chromebook, hitting Control and then that button with the 2 lines and the little screen up at the top above that keyboard. And if you're using a Mac, I think there's also a way. You're gonna have to Google it though. I don't have a Mac, never used a Mac. So again, those are your options for taking images, and explain why it makes sense and the different tools that you use there. So then you're going to jump into the lab itself. So you're going to go to the Balancing Act lab screen. Again, that is that second tab there. So use the same or some different objects and masses to apply your ideas. So if we go to this lab screen, we can see that we are given different objects that we can scroll through. Okay. Again, these are the objects that you can put on this balance beam here. All right. So let's look at what we are asked to do. So expand your understanding, use the balancing lab screen to meet these challenges. Consider this situation without using the simulation. So before we even jump into the simulation, we are asked to predict. Okay, so predict what will happen when the supports are removed and explain your reasoning. So what do you mean by that, Ms. Brennan? Well, I mean in this picture right here. Okay, this picture that I've provided up here, what do you think is going to happen once we remove the supports? Okay, predict it and we'll see what happens. Predict what will happen if the 80-kilogram adult was farther from the pivot point. Again, that image is down here. So that adult is pretty close to that pivot point right now, but what would happen, or what do you think would happen when we move that person further away from the pivot point? Again, that pivot point is right here at that center. Predict what will happen if the 30-kilogram child right here was closer to the pivot point or more right, and explain your reasoning. Again, you're using that image right here and you're going to make a prediction. All right, so for the part number 4 here, right? Test your predictions in the balancing lab. So now you are going to test those predictions. They are the same examples that you are given, but now you are going to use the Balancing Act lab in order to test your predictions and share your results. So explain what will happen when the supports are removed. Again, explain. So I want to see an image of you using it and explaining what actually happened within the lab. All right, so again, you're using those 3 scenarios that were given above that you had to use your prediction, but now you are actually doing it in the lab. And then you have some conclusion questions here. Each are 3 points, so make sure that you do them because you do not want to lose points on this. All right, again, this is your lab for today. So if you have any questions once we jump back on, make sure you ask them. All right, great job, everybody.